الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. Firstly, congratulations to those that have come tonight. That Allah Azza wa Jal looks favorably upon those that attend the majlis when people don't attend. The ones that come and do that extra measure, the ones that attend the majlis on the nights, especially tonight, because tonight is the majlis of the aftermath of Karbala. It is pretty much where the major catastrophe begins, because as Al-Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam mentions that the biggest calamity was the parading in Damascus, because this isn't something that was normal. It wasn't something that would happen. Killing was something that became ritual to the righteous. If you look historically, the righteous have been killed. Samahat al-Sayyid mentioned the killing of Habil. The first murder committed on the earth was committed on a wali min awliya Allah, not just anyone. One of the most pristine creations was killed, and ritually so were the prophets. But every time it came to the issue of their honor, we take a look at Ibrahim al-Khalil. Ibrahim, when he took his wife Sarah from one place to another, he took her in a casket. This is what the narrations say, that so people could not look at her, that no one would, for him to have her honored and dignified. Allah didn't try him with this. And even the story of Ayub held onto every calamity and trial and everything he was burdened with, and he stood firm. But when his wife had to sell a lock of hair to bring food for him to eat, he said to Allah, up to here, this is the amount of trial that I can handle. I cannot handle more than this. But when it came to Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and they being the select of Allah's creations, Allah Azza wa Jal said, even this you'll be burdened with. Even this you'll be tried with. That Sayyida Zainab alayha salam, when the narration said people never even saw her shade, her shadow, from how protected she was. Even Sayyida Zainab alayha salam was paraded through the streets. This is a calamity like no other. But why is this tragedy? Why does it, when it comes to this tragedy, why is this tragedy treated with such a magnitude? Why do we treat it in this manner? Have bigger crimes happened on this earth? More people have been killed in many events. If you even take a look at the crimes that were committed against the people of Medina and the people of Mecca, They were huge by their own standard. But why is it different? The problem is people try to compare with the progeny of Rasulullah. Even though the Imam says, لا يقاس, there is no comparison. بآل محمد من هذه الأمة أحد. No one could even be compared to them. There is no comparison. And this is why one of the biggest tragedies when you hear about Amir al-Mu'mineen is he mentions that the life and the dahr that we live in. He says, أنزلني ثم أنزلني. He brought me down until the people said, Muawiyah wa Ali. Not Ali wa Muawiyah wa Ali. Not only did they mention them on the same par, but they mentioned the name of Muawiyah before the name of Ali. His name was put forward over Ali. In fact, have you ever listened to people from the subcontinent that love him? They say Amir Muawiyah. Amir. This is the term that they use when they mention him. How can anything be compared to them? There is no comparison. Even when Muawiyah sent a letter to Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Mujtaba, and he wrote in this letter, Ana khayrun mink. Muawiyah wrote to Imam Hasan Al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, I am better than you. Why? He says, because the people united with me and there was discord with you. They didn't unite with you. Now the Imam explains the plight of these people. He says there's two of the kinds of these people. There are those that obeyed you out of fear. They were coerced. You know, sometimes someone is in a situation they have to do taqiyya. He says, and these people are exempt by the book of God. Why? Because sometimes, like as in the case of Ammar ibn Yasir, you may be compelled or forced, but within your heart there's still faith. He said these people have been exempt by Allah. As for the second type, he says they are disobedient to God. They are rebellious towards the Creator. And then he got to the lush part. He said, وَأَنَا لَا أَقُولُ أَنِّي خَيْرٌ مِنْكَ. Muawiyah, I do not say that I am better than you. لِأَنَّهُ لَا خَيْرَ فِيكَ. How can I compare myself to you? If you say something is better than something, they both have to be good. One is better than the other. But no one would ever say, for example, that fruit is better than sewage. You wouldn't compare. You would say an apple is better than a pear. But you wouldn't compare two things that are not of the same substance or the same material to be compared. She said, I do not say I'm better than you because there is no good in you. Allah Azza wa Jal cleansed us from the radha'il, took all this filth away from us as He has cleansed you from the fada'il. You people have no virtues. That was the response. There's no comparison between the two. And this is the biggest problem from those that bear enmity towards the Aimma alayhim salam. Of course, they tell you we love Ahl al-Bayt. Have you heard this before? You know, you have it, during Ashura, a lot of people put up videos and say, we love Ahl al-Bayt. Now here's a problem. I'll give you a scenario. If someone got up right now and said to you that I love, for example, I'm giving you examples. I tell you, for example, I love Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr and I love Saddam. Imagine I said that to you. Does that sentence make any sense? I'll give you an example. Another example that these people in this world living here today would make sense of it. If I said to you right now that I love Harry Truman and I love Adolf Hitler, this is an example they would understand. No one would accept that. How can you love a member of the Allies and love a member of the Axis? How can you love two people, the heads of these two positions. It doesn't make sense. So these people that tell you, I love Ahlul Bayt. He tells you, I love Ahlul Bayt. You ask them a question. One member of Ahlul Bayt claimed that her right was taken. That was Fatima alayhi salam. She said, my haqq has been taken. And the Sahabi that you love, the first Khalif, Abu Bakr, said, no, it has not. This Sahabi, Abu Bakr, is called Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Siddiq is more than Sadiq. Siddiq means is constantly honest, constantly truthful. Fatima, by the same person, is called as-Siddiqa. That means she's constantly truthful. Two people that are constantly truthful are in conflict. One of them is not truthful. If you were to ask this lover of Ahlul Bayt that claims to be, who is the one that's not truthful? There is no way he will stand down on his master. In fact, Ibn Taymiyyah made this apparent. He says, كَانَ لِفَاطِمَةَ خِصْلَةٌ مِّنَ النِّفَاقِ. He said that Fatima had a branch of hypocrisy because she kept asking for that right. Could you believe this? This is the reality. If you press the button enough, it comes out. And not only that, why is it they find the necessity to celebrate the day of Ashura? It's a day of celebration and they'll really push it out. And also the Sushis are on board on this. The Sushis, the Sunni Shias, the ones that claim to be Shia, also are on board in this matter. What do they say? Oh, we fast on the day of Ashura. Why do you mourn on the day of Ashura? This shouldn't be a day of mourning. This is a day where Nuh ship set. This is a day where they use all these examples. Every prophet. Who said these were the days? I will tell you, this day is a celebration. For who? This day is the day where Al-Ziyad and Al-Marwan and all of Banu Umayyah supported and celebrated. And everyone that finds this day is a day of celebration, is of their ilk, is like these people. If these people had lost a family member, and this happened with the Sipahi Sahaba in the subcontinent, in Pakistan. The Sipahi Sahaba, Azam Tariq, their commander, when he was killed, they came out in the streets and they tore their clothes, if you see the pictures, and they beat themselves on their bodies and their face. It was a day of mourning. They didn't say you can't beat yourself, you can't mourn, you can't do jaza over. This is Sipahi Sahaba, the army of the Sahaba. The people that hate everything got to do with what? The believers believe in. So these people that have the idea that I should not be angered and upset and in mourning on this day are either misinformed or disinformed, or they haven't tasted or drank from the water of Ashura to understand what this day is about, the tragedy of this day. And not every information or every source people are capable of accepting or comprehending. You can talk. Not everyone's going to listen to you. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, لا رأي لمن لا يطاع. Sometimes you think to yourself, sometimes I'm giving someone evidence that has no doubt. Well, you're not better than Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen spoke and no one listened. He spoke to the masses instead. They left him for 25 years or so in his home. They disregarded him. People these days line up to kiss the hand of an alim. Amir al-Mu'mineen is in his house. No one wanted to see him. He was left aside. People weren't interested because people were after the dunya. They left the akhirah, they left the imam because they were too immersed in their dunya, too involved in their dunya, and they loved the dunya. And this is what allowed them to allow this catastrophe to happen and this tragedy to happen. If you take a look, that makes people turn to this is when they move away from the remembrance of God. When you move away from the remembrance of God, anything can take you away. نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. You forget God, Allah will make you lose yourself. You will forget yourself. You'll forget what your purpose is here. And those that remember God at all times, if every burden and every tragedy befalls them, as has befallen Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam, they are strong in every situation. If you take a look, and we talk about the stance of Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam. Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam, if you remember when she had to stand before the Majlis of Ibn Ziyad, this is a catastrophe to begin with. If a woman is brought to stand in front of a court, in front of the court of a tyrant, this tyrant like Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, if you look historically, there were tyrants that were there that you could actually deal with and talk to. You have people that ruled, that with Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad was someone that's very quick at pressing the trigger. It was very quick on commanding people to get killed. And he began his sermon by cursing. Imagine after, not only that, he cursed the Imam and said that they have been exposed and God has given us victory and allowed us to kill this liar, the son of a liar. And then when he asks Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam, how did you view what Allah has done with you? Because this is what people will use. They'll say, look what Allah has done with you. So a tragedy befalls you, they go, look, Allah has punished you. And then Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam was firm, who's strong in her belief with Allah. She says, I did not see from him except beauty. She understood what Allah has given her. And these people that you killed, death had been written upon them. And there will be a day where you both meet up. On that day, when you both meet up, is where you will see. You will see, just as Sa'id ibn Jubair had said to Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, when he told him, I'm going to kill you, how do you want to die? Sa'id said to Al-Hajjaj, the way you want to die, kill me. Because on the day of judgment, I will kill you like you have killed me. There is a day where everything gets exchanged, a day where we return. Now, I want to obviously, because it's been a long day today, I want to take a look at what the situation was tonight. This is the 10th, the 11th night. This is after the martyrdom. I want to take your heart towards this darkness. This is a night. If you imagine the situation last night, Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam and the women and the children were surrounded by Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, was vigilant, moving around the tents. Ali al-Akbar, Al-Imam Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, they were all there. This is a night of darkness. It's not only a darkness in the fact that it was dark, darkness, the anwar that used to surround the tent, they're not there anymore. They are but just bodies all around. And at this time, do you imagine Sayyida Zainab sitting there with her hand on her cheek, wondering what she's going to do with these women and the children. If you know, even at this time, Sayyida Zainab wasn't even allowed to cry. She didn't have time to cry. Now, tragedy is endless. When I think of this, Sayyida Zainab, this isn't the first time she wasn't allowed to cry. When they took her mother to bury her in the night, Sayyida Zainab wasn't allowed to cry on that night because she had to be buried in secrecy so that no one had to know where she was buried. So imagine a young child that had to muffle her cries, not even let out a noise. Sayyida Zainab on this night was not able to cry. The orphans and the widows and her sick nephew, she had all these people that she had to worry about. Did you know on this day there were orphans that were burnt. They were burnt to death from the fire. On this day, there were orphans that died from thirst. They actually died from thirst. The first, in fact, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, if they left my grandfather Abu Abdullah, they didn't kill him, allowed him, he would have died from thirst. He was at that point where he would have died from thirst. There was no need for them to kill him. He was at that point. Honestly, how do we live when we hear this tragedy? How do we live when we hear a calamity like this? I'm surprised that people don't die upon hearing a story like this. That people don't drop dead when they listen to a story of this magnitude, of this position. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam did not even want those around her to have a look at her as if we have defeated you. This was another reason why she refused to allow them to see what was really happening to her. After this, they had rounded up all the women and the children. They had taken the jewelry from them. And in fact, when they wanted to take the jewelry from them, even from the children, they didn't wait for them to remove it. They would rip the earrings out of their ears. And they would take them one and bind them. And they would strike them. They would beat the children with whips that were made for men. Then when they put them on the rides, on the camels, to take them for this journey, Sayyidah Zainab alayha salam sees the uncovered body of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and begins to call out to this body. She said, may I be sacrificed for the one that was killed thirsty. May I be sacrificed for one thing after another. She weeps so much, she's about to fall from the camel. Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein says, Amma, do not keep doing this, because if you fall from the camel, I cannot bear to see them pick you up and put you back on the camel. It's too much for me to see a man hold you. I cannot even bear this. So how did he bear when she was paraded through the streets, where people, the onlookers, were able to look? How was the Imam? Could you imagine how did the Imam live for 35 years after this, and this thought never left his head? We ask Allah Azza wa Jal, through Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and the family of Hussein, to grant us to see the face of our master Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan and his reappearance, and to be of those that stand by his standard and are martyred by his side. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.